preaching another gospel, let them be accursed. So I would say to you first and foremost, make sure that you know the gospel. Because you need to be preaching the gospel, all right? That's our job as the church. So you need to know the gospel. I just given it to you again. You hear it every Sunday here. But the idea is you need to have it firmly in your mind this morning that the gospel is really simply talking about what Jesus said about salvation, not with some well-meaning group of people who maybe there's a lot of them. That doesn't mean that it's of God because there's a lot of people. That doesn't mean it at all. But the idea is it the real gospel, the gospel that Paul says, the simplicity of Christ, or is it the gospel with something added to it, or the gospel plus? That is not the gospel. People say to me, well, you're telling me that there's nobody. I said, I don't know. There's nobody in that church that say this. I said, well, the only thing I can tell you is they believe in something more than the gospel. If your works save you, I'm telling you, that's not what saves you. So if they're believing their works save them, how can they believe in grace at the same time? You know what I'm saying? They can't. And you'll see this in people because they're trying to earn their way to salvation. Ask them. So if you died today, would you go to heaven? Why? I think so. I hope so. Why? Because I'm a good person.
Jesus died for me.
Good person? There's none good. No, not one. Only God is good. None of us are good. We're all sinners. We've been separated. You get what I'm saying? You see, wrong information, but there is a spirit attached to that, remember. There is a spirit attached to that, the spirit of error. So we've got preaching another Jesus, a different spirit, a different gospel. Now let's look at verse 7. Again, you can't necessarily see this on the surface because a lot of times it's in the heart, but I'm telling you it goes with it. They're in it for the money. Point number 4, they're in it for the money. They're trying to fleece the flock of God and make a living off of the church. Paul says in verse 7, did I commit sin in humbling myself that you might be exalted because I preached the gospel of God to you free of charge? See, Paul wasn't seeking to get in their pocket. He was coming there and he preached the gospel free of charge. Now look, Paul was supported by the churches, okay? And it's biblical that the churches would support a pastor or would support. That's not unbiblical. You can, as we go through the Bible, we'll see that. But the idea was, and the false prophets were there to fleece the flock of God. And look around, folks. All you got to do is turn on the TV. It's right there for all to see. But what amazes me when I watch this is the people that are there in the place, seemingly a big building, and there's people in there, and they're on the air, and it costs a lot of money to be on the air, and there are a lot of people watching this stuff. And I'm thinking, what are they thinking? Well, it's a spirit. They bought into the spirit of error. And they believe what they're watching. These guys are in it for the money. Paul says, I came to you preaching free of charge. And he says in verse 8, now don't misinterpret this, I robbed other churches. Now this is not a confession by the Apostle Paul saying he was a thief. He didn't say that he had stolen money from the churches. What he was saying about it is making a point to them. He's saying, look, other churches were supporting me when I came through here. And when I preached to you, I didn't ask for anything. And by the way, the Apostle Paul was a tent maker. Did you understand that? Or in this modern day, he would be a carpenter. He was in construction. He made tents to make a living at times. And other times he would be given money by the churches for his needs, but he was not looking to get rich off of the church. That's what a lot of people are doing, by the way, and they will have to answer to God someday for that. I wouldn't want to be them that are standing in that place because they're fleecing the flock of God and leading people astray. And so they're in it for the money. So be discerning in that. Hey, we receive an offering here.